Hi, my name is Ray Descalso, financial planner, accredited investment fiduciary. I wanted to talk to you today about something that's very important, retirement income planning. You know, I help my clients with creating retirement income plans, but probably not exactly in the way that you think. If you find that oftentimes your retirement plan and your income plan is very, how shall I say this, paint by numbers. You know, you get a pie chart and set it and forget it. That's not how we do things here. And one of the reasons why is because retirement income planning is complicated. Now, I realize that's not a news flash to many of you, but let me kind of drill down and give you just a specific example of why it's so important to create a retirement income plan and to really do your due diligence. Let's talk a little bit about Social Security and the Social Security catch-22. Here's what I mean. First of all, Social Security, as I mentioned, is complicated. I don't know if you realize how complicated it is, but there are 2,728 rules when it comes to claiming Social Security benefits. Think about that for just a second. 2,728 rules. What's nice about them is they're written in a language that pretty much nobody can understand. If you're an actuary, you might get it, but they're very complicated. So there are about 100,000 other rules to explain the 2,728 rules. Those 100,000 explanation rules are called the Program Manual Operating System. Yeah, POMS they call it. So because of that, it gets very interesting, I guess we shall say, on all the different things you can do. One person I remember told me, this is as complicated, if not more complicated, than filing my taxes. And for a lot of you out there, it is. I mean, if you think about it, if you are remarried, if you have been divorced, if you were married for 10 years or less, everything can change when it comes to timing your retirement. So what we do here is we sit down with our clients and we actually run their data through some software to help them figure out what's best for them and to quantify what they are going to get from Social Security and what they're going to leave on the table. Because you see, it's always a compromise. Now that brings us to the Social Security catch-22. The Social Security catch-22 is when you have, let's just give an example. We'll call them Frank and Joan Sample. These aren't real people, but we'll just kind of give you a sample, obviously, of what could possibly happen. In this particular scenario, we have a couple who are 65 years old, and they are going to they want to retire at 66. And of course, 66 in their particular made-up scenario is when they're going to get their full retirement benefit. Now, Frank has been a W-2 employee and executive for a good 30 years. And for most of those years, he was making the maximum Social Security taxable benefit. And what does that mean? Well, every year, Social Security will tax you on your income. Now, if you make beyond that amount, and in years past it's been $118,000, and it goes up a little bit every year. If you make beyond that, well, those numbers beyond the Social Security taxable limit are not considered. They are not credited to you. And in this example, Frank did a really good job of working really hard, but you know what? Being a high-level executive, making all that money has taken a toll. And in this particular example, Frank, who's 65, married to Joan, is it Joan or Joanne? I can't remember sorry. We'll call her Joan. Joan is also 65. His health isn't really great. And because of that, he really feels like, look, I need to retire now. It's a goal for him because he doesn't have longevity in his family. He's had some heart issues. And so that's in the back of his mind. That motivates him to make 66 the retirement, hard date. I'm done, right? Now, the other thing to that is that Joan, she was a homemaker for the first 20 years of their marriage. So rather than it being out there and putting money into her Social Security system, she was at home and she was making sure the kids got raised and making sure that the home got made, and she did the most important job that a family, and that's being a mom. Then she started her own business. After about 18 years, actually, she started her own business, and what she did was she made she built this business and she made good money. Not in the beginning. In the beginning, it was like every small business. First 5 years, it was almost a loss. But the last 15 years, the last 15, 16 years, she has been doing really well. However, even though she's done really well for herself, made lots of money, the way she ran her business and the way her accountant set up the way she paid herself, she really didn't report that much W-2 income. Well, where does Social Security come from? It comes from W-2 income. So when you take a look at their earnings statement side by side, what you'll see is that in this hypothetical example, Frank, when he turns 66, he will lock in $2,861, right? Should he precede Joan in death, though, the problem is that she would get his $2,861 and she would lose hers. Hers is going to be a much smaller amount, right? So the question is do we wait until Frank is 70 to take his retirement benefit? And why would he do that? Because if he waits until he's 70, that amount from 66 to 70 keeps growing. In fact, if he were to wait, he'll get $3,770. That $3,770 is what Joan will get when he passes away. We're going to assume, based upon the fact that he's a man in bad health with genetics that don't lend themselves to long life, we'll assume that he'll pass first. So here's the catch-22. Does he dip into his IRA, into his retirement savings, whatever those are, to help him postpone from 66 to 70 of taking his Social Security, or does he instead say, you know what, I'm turning on my money from Social Security at 66 so that I can let my traditional IRA cook and grow so that between now and 70, when I have to take my required minimum distributions, I will be putting those taxes off into the future. Why is that significant? Because Social Security is not taxed in the same manner as withdrawals from your traditional IRA. It is more tax advantaged. It uses not the ordinary income formula, but the provisional income formula. It's complicated. And so when you take a look at Social Security and you take a look at taking money out of your IRA, there's a question, there is a catch-22. Because if he takes it at 66, he leaves his wife with less benefit when he passes away. Her amount in this hypothetical would be, $1,027 at 66, or a whopping $1,356 a month at 70. So her amount is great. We're happy to have it, but it's really not as significant as his options that we talked about, the 2,800 number or the 3,700 number. Again, these are hypothetical, but the principles work out. So what would you recommend that Frank and Joan do? Here's what I would recommend they do. I would recommend they have a conversation with their financial planner. Take a look at the actual numbers and find out what are you leaving on the table. Take a look at what your tax bracket is between now and 2026 when the Trump tax code changes, and then make a decision. But don't think for a second that it's an easy decision. Don't think for a second it doesn't require really unpacking the numbers, really looking at your tax map and your Social Security statements and what you will be leaving on the table if you take it at 66 and what you'll be paying in taxes if you wait until you're 70. I hope you enjoyed this thought experiment, this little example. If you have more questions, please give us a call. We'd love to help you through this process. Thank you.